Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Millionaire Woman Show. Today, we are talking about craving connection. Craving connection and expanding your outreach. Now, the past 2 years of COVID have really thrown a wrench into those networking events. We've seen hybrid models, we've seen online models, and now we're starting to see people get back together in person. And it's going to take a little bit of time. But what I have learned more than anything over these past 2 years is people are craving connection more than ever and wanting to expand their outreach and connect with others. And that's our human condition. We want to connect with others and we want to be able to support others and grow. I have a quote that I wanted to start with by Brene Brown. And she says, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel that they're seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from that relationship. And, when I think about people networking in business or organizations, and, you might not think it of networking of belonging to different groups or associations, but it's all networking. When you are opening yourself up to connection and conversation with others, those are all form of networking. Anything from the gym to the going to the bank to getting your groceries, that is a form of connection. So for this topic, today's podcast, we're going to be talking about connection in general. And most of the, some of the references are going to be related to business and organizations, but know that these connections form in life, from everything from moms groups to the golf course to a hockey game. We are connecting all the time because that is part of our human condition. We are meant to connect with others and find that commonality and relatability. So when you think about connection, what does it mean to you? Connection is physical, being able to read a person's body language. And we know that majority of communication comes from watching how people respond, their facial expressions. Do you have direct eye contact? How is their posture? All of these different things. We also have emotional, spiritual, psychological connections as well. Being able to have stimulating conversation about knowledge and theories and different things like that. And connection is not transactional. It's mutually beneficial. People are drawn into community. So again, what do you think about when you think about connection? What does it mean to connect? When I think about connection, I think about this synergistic relationship, powerful energy of respect, mutual interest, and support. And there will be a mix of online and, all these different functions where we can connect with others in new ways. So today I want to focus on how do we develop those connections? And, people need to have a game plan when they want to intentionally go to these networking events. And by being intentional, what is your true objective? Why are you networking? Are you networking to gain visibility? Are you networking to connect with other entrepreneurs, to find out what other people are doing, kind of some market research? Or are you just looking to expand your reach and learn about different products and services that are available in your community? So be intentional. Now, when you go to a networking event, I'm not going to tell you to start, walking up to people and saying, you need my product or you need my service, because I have to tell you, I've been to networking events where someone walks up and says, you need my card. And they'll walk away and I'll be like, who was that masked person? Let's file that business card in the garbage. Because they haven't developed that relationship, or someone adds you as a friend on social media. Next thing you know, there's like, hey, you want to check out my product or service? I'm like, no, we don't know each other. I haven't built that know, like, and trust with you. And it feels just very uncomfortable for people. And I know some people cringe at the networking idea. And I actually love it. But you can't be a wallflower when you come to networking events, standing by the wall thinking that people are going to come to you versus you intentionally moving forward. So one of the things I also want to mention here is when people are choosing networking events, choose ones that are relevant, please. You want to have the right people at the right place doing the right things. And if you're looking to connect with a new moms group, you're not going to go to men's golf night. You want to speak directly to your audience, not thinking, oh, well, I'm sure they know somebody. What's your return on investment of your time? You want to be directly with the target audience. You want to be where the decision makers are. Do you remember as kids how natural it was to have a conversation? You just walk up to a group of kids and say, hey, do you want to play? And off we took off to the playground or building blocks or some kind of PlayStation. And we had fun. But now we size everything up. The other thing if you're going to be proposing any work to any groups, maybe you've built that connection over time, always speak to the decision maker. Not the people who are called the Seymours who just want to check out what you're up to. Because I have to tell you, I proposed a program one time and I put together this phenomenal PowerPoint and they told me to come back and show us the PowerPoint. And I came back and I showed them the PowerPoint and they're like, well, you know what? Can I have your slides and I will show them to the person who's the decision maker? And I'm like, that's not how it works. They wanted the slide, no contract. And that's intellectual property. So you're not going to just give it away in the fact that you need to be making sure that you speak directly to the decision maker. So here's the other thing I really need to emphasize for you. When you go to these networking events or go to a function that might be a conference where you're going to be sitting, listening to lecturers, I want you to stay open-minded and put your judgment aside. Because what I have to share with you is that people can lose their opportunities to connect with people who can either connect them to someone or you can have a direct relationship with. Many years ago, I was invited to this special opening of this film, and I was sitting in the audience, and this woman, blonde hair, teased, wearing this very plasticky gray vinyl jacket, hot pink lipstick, stilettos. She kept walking around the conference room, and she caught my attention. And I was like, who is this plastic woman? And here I was in judgment. And I'm saying this to you lightly because it was very embarrassing to learn in the next 5 minutes that the guest speaker who was being introduced was that very woman. And then she started off her speech, which was very skillfully done, and said, how many of you were analyzing me? Well, here I was, my hand up by my shoulder, sliding down in my seat to make no eye contact whatsoever. Luckily, I wasn't the only one with their hand up. But you know what? This woman is a multimillionaire. And I learned that judgment does not serve us. Because when we come into a place of judgment, we are making assumptions. We are jumping to conclusions that we already know that person before we met them. So when you're walking into a conference or a room that you're going to go network, do you avoid that person to your right because they look like your ex-boyfriend? Or do you avoid the woman across the room because they remind you of your great aunt? When we start judging people based on their appearance because of who they remind us of, we could be missing out on the potential best friend, mate, business opportunity, and we are missing out big time. So if you can put your judgments aside and be open-minded and curious as to the people you meet in the room, you are going to do a spectacular job in learning more about networking. The other thing I want you to do is there's nothing sweeter than hearing the sound of your own name. So when you meet someone, repeat their name, maybe introduce them to someone who comes into the circle. Hey, Joe, nice to meet you. Hey, Debra, this is Joe over here. And by repeating it, you're going to put it into your memory. You're going to create this association, and repeating that name and knowing them by name. I find like I have a memory that, sometimes people don't want me to have such a good memory, is I can recall where I met them, where I was standing with them, what we were talking about. That's the way I work when it comes to networking. I have an association at this event. I met this and this and this person, and I want to put it into my memory. Now, the other thing is I don't want you to get caught up in titles, CEO of this or CFO of this. People get caught up in titles and they think that they're unapproachable. They think that, there's so much above me. They're a human being. They get dressed every day. They eat breakfast. They have lunch. They have families. They have kids. They do exercise. So I want you to really think about, instead of getting caught up in the title, be curious about who's the person behind the title. And if there's something that you want to, when you want to connect with someone, or you maybe want to have a one-on-one meeting with someone, when you do your follow-up, you're going to want to connect with them as human being. Because if we're looking at people as only their titles or only what they can give us, they are going to be on radar. It's very obvious when you're not there for genuine reasons. You want to be genuine. You want to be honest, authentically you. Just be you. And, respectfully, you're going to address them. They have the title. They earned their way to where they are. And you are going to really connect with them as a person. Now, here's the thing also. Don't come home from a networking event with a pile of cards on your desk, and then a week later, they're still sitting there. You want to be following up with individuals you've met within 48 hours. That makes people know that they were important. You're going to maybe send an email, make a phone call, send a short note, maybe even connect with them on LinkedIn. Sometimes people aren't carrying business cards these days. And when you're at the event, connect on LinkedIn right away. And that way you're connected and you can follow up a lot easier. So when you're following up, you're going to remind them where you met them. And, you might send an article or something of interest based on what you talked about. So let's keep that going, keeping the conversation going. See, because building connection is building, nurturing, and maintaining these three key points. And it's all about providing value. And that value comes from really building that connection and nurturing it. Some of my best business connections have come from an exercise group. Some of my best business connections have also led me to other opportunities, not even related to business. They might be related to health or philanthropy or some other things. And when you meet one person, sometimes it's not that first person you meet. It's the second or the third person in the connections that really are able to help you. But when you go to the networking events, you're wanting to give more than you're thinking of receiving. Of course, you're going there to receive as well. But how can you help others? You need to come from a place of value and service. That is where connections are solidified. They're building in trust, that know, like, and trust factor. And that building and nurturing of relationships is key. It's about providing value. So don't go putting your business cards in people's faces, because it's going to be like that. Yuck. They want to really know that you care about knowing who they are. They want to be appreciated and valued, and especially heard. So when you get into those conversations, you might walk up to a group of people and say, hey, you know what? I'd love to be a part of your conversation. What are you guys talking about? And then introduce yourself and fit yourself in there versus standing against the wall. One of the best things to do is do the unexpected. Now, instead of that standard elevator pitch, which I'm not completely fond of, it feels very rehearsed. I encourage you to share a story. And, if you've done any research or particular people that you might, want to meet while you go to the event, you might go through their social media and they might have a dog, or they might be participating in a sport or something else. And stories are really where we truly connect. When you share a story there's connection, there's relatability. We feel like we know somebody. There's this commonality. Now, everything doesn't have to be all business when we're talking at a networking event or in an organization. But this is what networking does for people. Networking allows people to brainstorm new ideas, face challenges, so that you know that you're not this lone ranger, and increasing marketability, that visibility, and opening to opportunities. There's referrals. But here's the thing, when we're in an organization, we're often in our own role. When we're an entrepreneur, we're doing our own work. And it's so cool to learn about what other people are doing. Perhaps there's benchmarking across the country to see what other people are doing. And are there ways that we could collaborate, connect, and share that knowledge? That knowledge transfer is huge in growing, creating, sparking creativity, innovation. So when you're networking, treat it with intention. Have an expectation of yourself to meet at least 1 to 2 key people that you're going to take time to really get to know. Don't get there to know the whole room, because that's not going to happen. Pick 1, 2, maybe 3 people at the most to really delve into a couple conversations. Now, the other thing, when you go to these networking events, it's nice to hang out with people you already know. I get that. But you're not expanding your outreach, your visibility, when you're staying in the same circle of people all the time. Sometimes it's a matter of, hey, it's great to see you. Let's connect beginning or after, and then we'll split up. And maybe you might meet somebody I need to meet, and you meet somebody I need to meet. So, you get to share those connections as well. Because when you go, always come from that place, like I said, of service. Who can I introduce them to? Is there some book or knowledge or podcast I can share with that person that can help them along the way? And if they're having an event or something that you can volunteer at or serve them in some way, that's another opportunity. There's opportunities everywhere. The thing is, if we go into a place of judgment and we're not open to the possibilities, we tend to close those doors. Now, it's time to open another door. People are craving connection more than ever. They want to expand their outreach, to open the world. And the one thing that I'll tell you, in the past 2 years, we have opened the world so much by using technology. And I know people sometimes are tired of technology, but when we can open the doors to something bigger than ourselves and how we can serve people on this global platform, we can do amazing things. So when you're looking to connect, be heart-centered. How can you serve and give value? What is it that you can do to help someone along their journey? And there's this law of reciprocity that when people are helped, they often want to help in return in some way. It might not be immediate. It might not even be through them. It might be a connection down the road. You never know who one person knows. The average person knows at least 250 people. And if you take that 250 people, each of those has 250. And used to be a shampoo commercial, and they'd say, and so on, and so on, and so on. So open your network, expand your horizons, and fulfill that craving of connection, and reach out to someone that you know that you need to follow up with today. You need to build and nurture that community that you are building of your circle, that like-minded circle, the circle where people can challenge thoughts and you can freely exchange ideas. So take your networking to the next level. Really focus in on being relevant, relatable, and be resourceful. As you think about your networking experiences, you might have some past ones with some really great stories. And I encourage you to share them with other people, because those stories of connection can really help people connect and know what they want when they go to these events. Be clear, be savvy, concise, and at some point, there will be that call to action where you can share your product, your service, what you do, where you need help, where you need support. They might not purchase your product, but they can tell people about it. You never know who's going to be your next champion. Thank you for joining me here on the Millionaire Woman Show. It's a pleasure to serve. And if you love this networking video and podcast, please share it with your friends. Subscribe, hit the bell if you're watching us on YouTube so you don't miss a single notification. And I'd also love for you to go over to my website at www.debrakasowski.com, where we're going to have Reset Your Mindset is a new 10-page PDF to really get your mindset in the right place, to take action, to not hold yourself back, to stay out of sabotage, and really hit those goals that you've been wanting so much. So go out there, be of service, give some value, and have a fabulous day. As Mahatma Gandhi said, be the change you wish to see in the world.